stages of her life. So that's why we're donating 10 Kidbury this evening, so please give generously. Okay, on to the next things. Okay, the rules. If you've got any questions, please, if you could kind of keep them to the end of like a little section, please stick your hand up. Or if you can't remember it, write it down, or stick your hand up and I'll try and get through to you. Otherwise, I'll kind of lose my train of thought, and those of you who know me, I kind of go off and I tend to go off a tangent without anybody helping me to go off on a tangent. So if you don't mind, if you can turn your mobiles off. I'm not preaching, honestly. If I come across I'm preaching, it's because I'm really passionate about what I do and I really believe in it. Okay? And my other thing I say, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So, the secrets to my secrets to you this evening are, I've been on the quest for a number of years. I've been relentless and passionate about looking and feeling good. I spent a lot of time not feeling wonderfully good and not feeling wonderfully confident in myself. It's really, really nice to see some familiar faces here today. Some of you will remember me over the years, how I've kind of ballooned and then got small, and ballooned, and stayed quite small for a while now. Yes, Ruth? So first of all, I'm going to tell you, who am I? Well, first of all, I am, for my sins, big mother and big mother of those 4 children. And I'm also a wife to my husband, Richard, who's the type of person who's helped me set up all the electronics here today. I have 4 children. Sophie, who is 11, Lewis, who is 9, David, who is 7, and little Grace, who is 3 years old. So yes, I have 4 kids. After this, I am the crazy, outspoken, passionate woman about fat loss and feeling good. I'm on a crusade, this is what I kind of feel I am. I'm on a crusade to help other frustrated and confidence-crushed ladies get a bit of what I have found out to change your life, okay? Change your life around, okay? My aim in life now is to lift the veil of self-loathing, okay? Get back into dressing rooms of high street stores with pride, like having your photographs taken with your kids. I have a long, long list of years where I wouldn't have my photograph taken with the kids, okay? The few photographs you see here are probably the only ones we could find with me with the kids for a whole number of years, am I right? We have to search high and low for them. Get your clothes size to start going down rather than its steady incline over the years. Get back in charge of those bits that stick out of your underwear you don't want. Yeah, you put your underwear on and something pops out down there. You put it up in the front and something pops out down there. So it's really to get back in charge of your bits. Feel good with loads of energy and sing! Okay? Get ready to go out. Right? This is another one for me. This is one of my main issues. Get ready to go out. I want to go out and get ready in a jiffy. Right? Okay? Rather than going upstairs for how long?
No.
Centuries! Putting stuff on. I look crap in this, I'm not wearing this. Lovely dress, I look crap in this, I'm not going out. Now I go upstairs. How fast am I? I can probably get fast. I can probably get ready faster than you know. I'm that good. I'm that good. I put something on, yeah, I look okay, I'm off out. I spent a lot of years upstairs and quite possibly hated going out in the end. And it's not me because I love going out. Life is so party when I go out, I love it. And what do I know? What do I know? You see me as I am now, a fitness instructor, I look really fit. What do I know? Well, this was me. Okay? This was me. This is me in a past life. This was also me, looking really happy. Not. Yeah? With my when you have your kids, last debate weights are really helpful. The problem is when they stay around when your kids are kind of 3, 4 years old, 5 years old, and you've still got them. Big clothes, small confidence, self-loathing, living in ignorance, partly at my size, until I kind of see things like this. On my 40th birthday party, I was 8.5 months pregnant with my last child, sitting in India with my friends, my best and my closest friends. That evening, I don't know why to this day, that was for me, that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I was on the verge of having my last child, and it was my last child. I love them all, but 4's enough. I don't know why I made a promise to myself that evening as I blew up the birthday candles on my cake. I made a commitment, almost like a marriage to my husband, about to get back what I was like before I had the kids. Hell, I made a deal with myself. I was going to be even better than I was before I had the kids. Okay, a bit like the Bell Milk man. Better, faster, stronger. Yeah? I was only 40 at the end of the day, and I had a whole lot of living left to be done. Whole lot of looking and feeling better than I had done, and I realised I deserved. Spent too much time honestly feeling shit about myself and my outlook on life. So, Figureout Fatloss was born. What I initially did is, when I had Grace, I lost a lot of my baby fat. I really stopped drinking alcohol. Alcohol was and still is a big part of my life. I'm not going to turn it to Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay? I still drink, so I still have my things I love and I crave. I love chocolate, I love alcohol, banana clam, really, really good, eating loads of food as well. Okay? So basically I started kitting out things. I did go to Weight Watchers, I did lose weight, but never really kind of got to the shape that I wanted to do. Still bits kind of hanging out here. I must say, even though I'm a fitness instructor, I wasn't really happy with what was kind of going on with it when I was kind of losing weight. It was still kind of not quite as I wanted to. So I basically started to develop my own nutrition plan. I read loads and loads of books, probably over 50 books today. How many books are in the house on nutrition? Millions of books on nutrition. Probably over 50. Studied with probably the best and most nutritionally up-to-date practitioners there are in the UK. Then I did it to myself, and then I started doing it to my friends, didn't I, Ruth? So I did it, and I started doing it to my friends. I then got a group of people, Lord knows why, I think there was 6 or 7 of them, Lorraine, you were one of them, who came along and demoed what I was going to do. We demoed it, we had really, really, really good results. So, once I'd done the trial, I had amazing results. And I basically let my nutritionally sound, simple principles loose on the rest of the world. Well, Southwards anyway. Okay? So, to date, I have, results that lose fat, not just your muscle or your fluid. They're safe, I've got backup from probably the UK's best fat loss expert, and probably most outspoken fat loss expert, Mr. Paul Mould. My results to date, my results are predictable, repeatable, amazing, and guaranteed. So these are my results these are probably my results over the last, I've kind of cut out my own results and put in my most recent results to show you. Ginny's not here today. Ginny's lost over a stone, probably closer to 2 stone now. These results were a couple of weeks ago. Lost over 25 centimetres since May. Ginny can't do a lot of impact when she goes. No. She just basically goes at her own pace. She works in the doctor's surgery next to Laura. Yeah? How would you explain Ginny? She's mad. She's not doing exercise, is she? No. She's not really used to doing an awful lot of exercise. Beth, who's here tonight? Beth has lost 9 pounds and over 20 centimetres, am I right? In 5 weeks. Yeah? And this is Beth here. Beth, you work in a microbiology lab in Cardiff.
So, yeah, I got my trousers on, yeah, I got my jeans on.
She got her jeans on, which was too small.
Yeah, I didn't think, I couldn't get them past my knees when I bought them, so, yeah, it was really
Jan, I sent you yours after I'd done this, and I can't remember what they were.
With me, it was my key was body fat, and rather than weight, and I've lost about, I would say, was it two inches off my tummy.
And what was it? You lost loads off one point. You was your waist.
My body, my top off here.
Yes. Was it waist? I can't remember you lost loads off it. You got down a good 6 or 7 centimetres from the body, about half and 4 or 5 days.
My body shape's changed.
Yeah. So, most of my ladies lose over a stone in a period of probably about 8 weeks. True dress sizes within that. What I will say about the scales is we're all obsessed with the scales. But when you go out to a restaurant and you've got a black dress on, what makes you feel good? Is it if there was a scales with a big neon lighted display above it? Ka-ching! 9 stone! Is that what makes you feel good? No? What makes you feel good then?
Look good.
And how do we look good?
The way you feel.
The way you feel, and if stuff is, so it's doing measurements, okay? So I do weight, but what I'm really primarily interested in, because weight can be disguised in fluid, and it can also be disguised as weight as muscle loss, okay? We don't want muscle loss, and we don't want fluid loss. We want fat loss. Best way to differentiate between losing muscle and water and fat is to do measurements. So primarily I'm kind of buying measurements at the end of the day. Okay, it's not about weight loss, it's about fat loss. So most ladies lose 2 dress sizes. Some of them on my maintenance and still come to reinforce the lifestyle and keep their toned bodies. Laura, you're probably on a maintenance now, yeah? You lost a whole load of weight initially. I can't remember how many centimetres you lost.
It's 12.
She lost 12 centimetres on her waist. Okay. Now Laura's basically on what we call maintenance. So Laura's basically maintaining how she looks now, and Laura looks fantastic now, even though she doesn't think it is that. She actually looks fantastic. got a full load of work, yes? It's almost like your body is overworked and it just says, right, more and more toxins are going to go into that. I'll deal with you later when I get a chance to. What we do, we remove the toxins from the body, okay? This really helps melt the fat away. It's the only way I can explain it. This is why we get better results with the tape measure than the scales. Okay? So this is one thing. If you don't go away with anything else, you probably remember some of the photographs, right? This is really, really key to why what we're doing is different. Okay, so what we do initially, we go through a detox. Don't we go through a detox, okay? What I would say to you is, the reason why we do a detox is to increase our ability to get rid of the fat, okay? Our body wants to give up the fat more readily once the toxins are out of it, okay? Increases our feel good. Everybody who comes on the program feels good after about 3 weeks, should I say? Yeah? The skin changes, your complexion changes, your outlook changes, dare I say it, fake tan comes on, fake eyelashes come on. Am I right with some people? Yeah? Jean sizes get smaller, more funky tops come on. I see it, it's brilliant. Improve our body's function. It's almost like when you take your car for a service. Yeah, the car runs better after your service. We reduce illness, and the other thing which I've started to work with now, it really helps improve thyroid issues, IBS, polycystic ovaries. We've got somebody in the room who does have polycystic ovaries, and they're notoriously difficult to lose weight with, okay? And I've had really, really successful results in just 5 weeks. All sorts. Oh, right. Our bits and pieces. This is the bit I'd love to talk about. Okay. Your muffin top, as we call it, yes? See this? The are also really, really high in antioxidants. Eat fruit and nut together so you don't get that spike in sugar and cause your insulin response. If you eat it with the protein, what that tends to do is calm it down a bit. So you will have an insulin response, but not a huge spike. Fish oils are really, really good too, good quality fish oil. All sorts. Right, here we go on. So we've done muffins. Who said this one? Does my bum look big in this? No, anybody else come and said that? Does my bum look big in this? And you know what husband's thinking, do I say yes and no, or do I just lie? I'll have a really bad night if I say yes. Yes or no? Nobody else said that. Does my bum look big in this, honey?
Yes, hundreds of times. Millions of times.
Okay, so what have we got? The culprit, estrogen. Accumulation of fat around our glutes and our thighs, i.e. fat arse. Okay? Usually fairly lean everywhere else though, yes? Do you know those people who just kind of go, and then go in again sometimes? Due to estrogen, okay? Usually it's because we either can't manage the estrogen that we make ourselves, whether our body's not efficient enough at breaking down the estrogen, or we're adding man-made estrogen chemicals to it, and our body's got a double overload of estrogen. Does that make sense? Okay. Our poor little liver is the organ which breaks down estrogen. Okay. When it can't cope, it says, I can't cope with it, you're going to have to deal with the estrogen yourselves. It gets sucked, yeah, like an express train to the fat cells on your bone. Okay. Unfortunately, us ladies, being ladies, we have what we call alpha-2 receptors, okay, which once it's there, doesn't want to give it up. Okay, one of the reasons for that, especially if we're in, before we get to, we're not going through menstrual. Menopausal, it is in there somewhere. Before we get menopausal, our body wants to store a little bit more fat here and here if we have kids, because that's our fat store to fuel if we're breastfeeding, etc. So once it's on your bum doesn't want to give it up. Okay, so the solution. The solution is to basically eat in your diet as part of your plan more watercress, broccoli, cabbage, collie and kale. Okay? Some of these things, I wasn't particularly fussed on broccoli when I started my little crusade. I kind of like broccoli now, I must say. Flax seeds are also really helpful to speed up the excretion of fat from your bottom. It also has what we call flavonoids in it, which help really get rid of the fat. So it really helps kind of burn that fat away from your bum. What I would say, if any of you do spin classes, okay, low resistance and high speed spin classes, if you're trying to get rid of your bum, does the opposite thing. So if you're going to do a spin class, make sure your resistance is up when you do your sprints. Otherwise, you're spinning on low resistance, you're in an aerobic training area, and your bum thinks, okay, I need a bit more fat storage here, because she keeps on doing loads of spinning at low resistance. Rather than pumping up the resistance, really making the muscles work hard for a shorter period of time. So if you do spin, don't do low resistance, high speed. Slow it down, work harder. Yeah, very low resistance spin and weighted squats, lunges and stuff like that really, really help tone your bum up, as the girls do. I'll tell you. All sorts. Okay. I don't need to talk about this one. You know why I don't need to talk about this one. Yeah. This is me. This is me. This one's me. Okay. So, big fat tummy tuck, yeah? What are we looking at? Worrying, stress. This is a big one. Culprit primarily stress. Cortisol from your adrenal glands just above the kidneys. When you get exceptionally stressed, we don't relieve that stress when we're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger for our lives and we hike up a tree. We get rid of that stress by that sharp exercise outburst, and it naturally brings our cortisol levels down. When we get stressed in the car, somebody cuts us up, or for some other reason, that cortisol is still pumping itself around your body. And a lot of cortisol is really, really, really damaging to your body. Okay? It's really, really damaging. What it also does is your waist cells, these are your responders to stress. When you get stressed, your fat storage cells here, it stores your fat around your waist if you're a particularly stressed person. But the other problem is, okay, the other big one is, fat storage here is probably the worst place to store fat. This is the bum deal, literally. Not that it's on your bum, it's not always. This is the bum deal, okay? It's really mobile. This fat can come and it can go. For most men, this is the reason a lot of them get strokes. Because they have a big fat tongue there, and then this fat gets dislodged really, really quickly. This fat is worse than having fat stored anywhere else. This gets dislodged, and this is what causes a lot of strokes. But for us ladies, it's not good either, okay? Two types of fat. You probably saw this, or it's been on TV really recently. Subcutaneous just lies below the skin, but the really worrying one is the visceral fat, which lies deeper in the abdomen, okay? This is your beer belly. This is the one that really increases your risk of heart disease, diabetes, blood pressure, stroke, etc. This is the fat on what looks like a thin person, yeah? But they're not really thin, because they're still more fat around their organs. And the shocking thing too is how proportionate your waist size is how much more at risk you are. Okay? 80 centimetres, I don't think it's that big personally. I don't know if I've got me tape measure with me. 80 centimetres is not that much. It gets even higher if you go above 88. If you're a woman. They're different for a man. The solution, improve your eating habits. Sometimes a lot of carbohydrates are to blame, so I guess they cause bloating and fat storage. Reduce your stress. Try and get to bed a little bit earlier. I say this one. Don't do it. Hence my fat around my tongue. Improve your sleeping patterns, improve your exercise. Try and reduce alcohol, coffee, and then do some life changes. You take time out. You do have, even in your busy work schedule, time out, maybe a day or 2 days a week when you don't do any work. Okay. So, my all sorts. So, I'm able to deal with all those different sorts of people on our Figureout Fatloss program. We get all shapes and sizes, yeah? Laura's on the program. Beth's on the program. Lorraine used to be on the program. Jane's on the program, and Jan's on the program. All different shapes and sizes, all different goals. Ruth's on the program too. All different shapes and sizes, all having different goals. Some people have got several stone to lose. Some people only want to lose that last hard half a stone to get down to where they want to be. So we deal with all shapes and sizes. We deal with all levels. Am I right? So I deal with the person who can do jump squat. I deal with the person who can't because of their knees. We do a squat. We use resistance bands, easy ones, nasty ones. So we complement everyone's ability. Am I right, girls? We never leave anybody behind, do we? Nobody ever gets left behind. Okay? My principles, I love this slide. Really, really simple. Good, healthy eating. There is no quick fix. No shakes. Where's my sheet? Where's my sheet? No shakes, no meal replacements, no low-fat sauce. Simple, simple, simple stuff. Scientifically proven, but not used by the masses. Okay. Balance of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Fat loss, not really weight loss. Not all calories got labelling now. Oh, I love labels. They're going to check. No one goes to Tesco's. They're going to check me out Tesco's one day. I go see her and then I go around with my camera and I see stuff in the shop. I run over with the kids with me sometimes. Oh, that label up there. I look at labels all the time. What you see on the front of the packet isn't necessarily what is actually in the packet. Okay? Food marketing translations, no added sugar. Yeah, can you see that? Instead of being a variety of sweet tasting carcinogenic chemicals, artificial flavouring, whole mixed chemicals that will trick your brain into thinking you're eating something healthy. Natural flavourings, 10 drop of lemon or something added to the chemical crap listed in item 2. Low fat. Instead of fat, I love this one. I love this one. Low fat. Instead of fat, I have a chemical cocktail. There's worse than fat ever was. Sugar. Back on sugar. One of the key issues with products that have sugar. When you felt like you start to all sugar. Okay, hidden sugar in drinks. Some of you may have seen some of this before. So what I'm basically trying to do is eat to what we were evolved to eat. Cover this. Sugar causes a massive insulin response. Right? If you keep on doing it, your insulin response gets dulled, gets worn out basically, and that's when the insulin response needs more and more insulin to create that drop in sugar. Yeah, can change into fat. And that's when we get the onset of type 2 diabetes. What I will say is, sugar is probably a little bit better than the poisonous sugar replacements you also see, aspartame, yeah? Banned in other countries because it's been proven to cause cancer and leads to illness. Other places for sugar to hide, your ready meals, your low-fat yogurts, your low-fat cooked sauces, just about everything processed. Don't know if any of you saw What Made Us Fat, or The Man That Made Us Fat, yeah? Big glut of corn in the 60s, and they found that they can make corn syrup with a really, really cheap way of putting sugar into products. So, as much as you go in, you get 2 for 1 for something, okay? There's never a free lunch in this world. Look at the packet, it's probably filled with really cheap stuff, okay? Which corn syrup causes a massive insulin response in your body, absolutely massive. Beige food. Yeah? Food, but not as we know it. Tripping our digestive system and loading our fat cells with toxins, making us fatter. Okay, free from goodness, this is what nutritional value into it. And then it looks like that. Okay, the next one. Sausage roll, anyone? Same sort of thing. Mechanically reclaimed meat, then mixed with husks, and then a really cheap stuff. Your 4-pence sausage isn't 4 pence because Tesco's or whatever supermarket really can to. Your 4-pence sausages because there's 4 pence in there. There's 4 pence of stuff. No, it's probably not 4 pence of stuff in there. If they sell it for 4 pence, there's probably 1 pence of stuff in there, or meat in there. I hate these, and I hate these in kids' parties. If I was in charge, I'd get rid of chicken nuggets and sausages. Oh, one of my favourites. Okay. I love adverts on TV now. I love it. I love the Special K one. Lady in her red bathing costumes. Yeah? If everybody knew how Special K was made, nobody would put it in their mouth. Okay? They basically take the grains. Now, you can wrap this up as Special K, or you can wrap it up as Cocoa Pops, corn flakes, anything which is an artificial flavour. God did not create Cheerios. Yes? Yeah? Anything which is an artificial shape. I hate Special K because it's sold specifically as a weight loss and healthy option. Okay, I hate it. They basically take the grains, they mash them up and make a slurry paste out of it, which is mildly toxic. Then by the process of extrusion, very, very high pressure and heat, okay, they then make it into the Special K flakes. That looks a bit like a Special K flake, doesn't it? So they make it into the flakes, then they're sprayed with some chemicals, and then they are dried, okay. They're not. So there's no nutrition in them, they're nutritionally void. So then they add vitamins into them so that you think that they're healthy. But the vitamins they add are not in a soluble state for you to get any benefits out of. Okay? Then they're dried and then sold to the masses as a healthy option. Okay? Deficit vitamins also spikes your blood sugar because it's partly digested before you put it into your mouth. It spikes your blood sugar, so good sugar fibers. It just makes you fat and autism. Okay, one of my other ones, soya. I love this one. This is the advert, do you know the one where you're on a healthy diet, and because meat's got a lot of fat in it, it cuts down what you can eat. If you put soya into it, you can increase your recipe book. We were not meant to eat soya. Nowhere in our distant past were we ever meant to really eat soya. It's one of the most highly produced crops. The most mechanically farmed crops in the world. It's one of the most sprayed crops. There's really high content of pesticides sprayed on it to make it grow. It also contains goitrogens, okay, which can lead to hypothyroidism. Okay. Blocks mineral absorption. This is proven stuff because it's got a very high phthalate content. If you have fermented soya, like soya sauce, that's okay because it's been fermented. Which basically inhibits the absorption of both macronutrients and trace minerals. It's also linked to attention deficit disorder, and it really, how can I put shift fat. Okay. So at the end of the day, I can't say I'm not going into detail about stuff, I'm kind of skimming over through this. Basically, eat less carbonated stuff, refined sugar, artificial sweetness and colours, processed food. Really, really simple. Eat more proper food. Moving on to the exercise of it, because I'm sure some of you are interested in the exercise part of it. We exercise what we call intelligently. We exercise efficiently, so when we come to class, we maximise the exercise that we need to do to create a deficit or a deficit in calories by fat loss. Okay, now how we do that efficiently? We look to raise your basal, what we call BMI, is your basal metabolic rate. It's the level that your body runs at to basically keep it ticking over. Now you can increase your basal metabolic rate by doing short periods of intense exercise with rest. That's been proven in a class which is 25, 35 minutes, 45 minutes if you add all that cool down. That's proven to burn more fat than somebody going on a 5 or 6 mile run, which probably takes some people about an hour. Okay. Not only does it burn more calories at that specific time, it also keeps on burning calories because your body has raised its basic metabolic rate because you're working really hard for a short period of time, and then starts to slowly come back down, depending on how fit you are, 24 to 48 hours afterwards. So that's why on the program we try and get 3 lots of exercise or 3 sessions in the week. So I hit you as that 24, 48 hours comes back down, we do another burst of exercise. We're looking to maintain the basal metabolic rate. It also reduces your chance of injury. If you're running all the time, you've got repetitive on your knees, repetition on your knees. Always change the class routine. We never do the same thing. We do different parts of the body, different days. We never do the same exercise. We always vary it. I offer you to go to your own level because everybody's got different levels of fitness. In what we do, I'm hoping everybody works to their own level and works as hard as they can. So Laura's going to work to a very high level. She's done a lot of exercise. The ladies who haven't done an awful lot of exercise are working up to a higher level of exercise. So everybody finds their own, I wouldn't say comfort zone, because it's not exactly comfortable, but their own zone. It's all done in 45 minutes max, because you don't need to do any more than 45 minutes. And you fat burn for 24 to 48 hours. So if you still look pretty afterwards, you didn't do it right. So, from my sort of 15, 16 years in exercise, various shapes and forms, what do most people do? I probably find that people don't eat enough, although mostly people do eat too much, and those who are consciously thinking about what they're eating often eat the wrong food or the wrong food combinations, which is even more frustrating because they're trying their best to lose weight, but really haven't got the understanding of what their combinations why it's not happening. A lot of people eat too much carbohydrate and don't realise that they're eating so much hidden sugar. They either do too much cardio or they don't do enough exercise. It's one or the other. And they often lack a good source of protein in their diet, because protein, whether it's your meat or eggs, is the building blocks of life. I don't care how it is a building block of life. Protein helps us repair. So basically, summing up, the food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine, and I can sort of prove that because in the past 4 weeks I've been working with a naturopath, and I've really noticed the difference in my health, really clearing up what my body wants and what is not helping me at the moment. So I can so go along with this. Always your slowest form of poison. not that point of view where the straw that breaks the camel's back. Well, that's fine. I can understand that because everybody's going to do things in their own time. It never works when your mum or your dad say, "Oh, come on, you need to lose a little bit of weight." That never works. You have to make that decision yourself. It has to come from inside you to make that choice. But I mean, the results you've seen, there's people sitting in the audience. You can talk to afterwards about their experience. How nice I am to them. Come on, Jane! But I mean, what I can say to you is that if they don't excite you, that's fine. My results are predictable. I give you a money back guarantee. I don't know anybody else who gives a money back guarantee if you don't get any results. It's fine. So what you basically want, if you want excuses or results, you can't have both, is what I tell the ladies. This is Kate. Kate did 5 weeks with me. So this is kind of 4.5, 5 weeks. Kate didn't, as you can see, Kate didn't obviously need to lose an awful lot of weight. Kate just needed a half a stone just to kind of get her back where she wanted to be. But she tried herself sort of 6-9 months to get this off, and she did it with me in 5 weeks. So Kate's basically back now down to where she wanted to be. So that's Kate, little Kate. This is Cynthia. Okay, Cynthia is a business lady from Cardiff who is extremely busy. And within 10 weeks, she got to there, and I saw her about 3 weeks ago, and she still looks like that. Okay, it's okay. Cynthia's maintaining at the moment. And staying with us for 10 weeks too. She's a teacher, and she's just kind of going through end-of-term inspections, school reports, and she'll probably be back with us because she likes the maintenance, she likes the discipline. She'll probably be back with us now in August sometime once the kids are gone and she's free to do more stuff for herself again.